Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to our panel. First, I'd like to ask unanimous consent to submit the following article titled Meet Vaclav Smil, the man who has quietly shaped how the world thinks about energy. It's in Science magazine. Ask unanimous consent to submit for the record this.
Without objection.
Thank you. One of the things that we've talked a lot about in this committee is the issue of climate change. And I think we've actually made progress. It's sort of this bizarro world where in here I feel like we make progress and I get on Twitter, God forbid, and it's something completely different. I want to start first by talking about sort of the transitions. And one of the reasons I like this article is Professor Smil basically goes through and talks about the different transitions from energy sources, from wood to fossil fuels, first coal, then oil and natural gas. Now it took over a century. And basically the science is pretty clear that the next transition is, if we go to full-scale renewables, will be very slow. And so these projections, some in the Green New Deal and whatnot, that we can somehow solve this with wind, solar, and battery is somewhat fanciful. And that's why I've been, or in fact is fanciful. And so that's why I've been very excited to hear Ranking Member Lucas's comments on the need to increase basic research and discover the answer to this question, because I don't personally believe that it exists, with the exception of potentially nuclear. And I know, Mr. Schellenberger, we probably agree on that. And so I want to start with you. In your testimony, I think you make a strong argument in favor of growing our nuclear capacity, both at home and abroad. And I certainly agree with you. We need to do more, not only to expand our capacity, but make it more affordable. Now, as I understand it, nuclear reactors are currently only custom built, which generates significant costs. How important is the R&D component from an investment standpoint to promote advanced nuclear reactors?
I think it's a small but exaggerated part.
Okay.
I mean, my views are I have a minority view of this within the pro-nuclear community. I think there's a fetishization of new designs and of that particular phase of the process. Certainly, I mean, basically, if you look even at solar panels, which have experienced a significant decline in cost, 90% decline in cost, it wasn't a breakthrough with a different design. It was actually the same boring old silicon solar panel that they just mass manufactured in big factories in China. And so your point about scale is really, really important. What brings down the price is being able to do the same. It's just factory type production or mass manufacturing that brings down prices.
And how does the U.S. currently sit from a competitive standpoint relative to other nations in developing the technology?
I mean, we're basically, I mean, as far as I can tell, we don't have a significant advantage in terms of new smaller reactors or novel designs that use a different coolant than water. The Russians and the Chinese are all pursuing that. The Koreans are certainly pursuing it. We see the Canadians are getting into it. Again, I just think there's just way too much emphasis on design type, because I think there's some idea that we're going to have some kind of a breakthrough in design, but that's just not consistent with any physical understanding of the technology or the history.
Okay, so what would be the most helpful in terms of increasing our competitiveness?
We need to be building significant amounts of nuclear power plants at home. There's really no alternative to it. So if you're Nigeria and you're considering who to go with, and the Chinese and the Russians and the Americans come, and the Chinese and the Russians are like, yeah, we're building 10 reactors in the next 10 years, and the Chinese are like, we're building 20, and the United States is like, well, we were building 4, but then we canceled 2 of them, and we're hoping to get the 2 done, and maybe we'll build some other kinds, but we're not really sure. And by the way, we don't really know who you could work with in the United States, but good luck. I mean, that's just not a competitive offering.
Right. No, I certainly share that opinion. And with that, I yield back.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.